Well, I need to welcome you back, and we're still with the big story for today. We're talking about accountability of public funds, especially as it concerns spending from state governors. With our social economic right and accountability project saying about 40 trillion has been spent over the years of just 24 years from local government money by state governors, they need to know how those monies were spent. And not just need to know, but if their request is not being heard in the next 7 days, they most certainly will go to court. That's what it is, and that's what we're having as a major discourse as we look at accountability, not just from the state governors themselves, but also from the federation and the federal government, especially looking at what Vice President Kashim Shettima said on Saturday, that corruption might just be the reason for banditry and kidnapping. Well, anyway, all of that is what we're still having as a major discourse today. But still remember, we have no other person but Comrade Dewa Egedigbe. He's of the Value Rebate and State Coordinator of Transition Monitoring Group. But that's what we're having as a major. We're talking about accountability of public funds, and especially in that request being made by SERAP, insisting that state governors should give account of 40 trillion naira that have been sent to local government areas, but little or nothing to show. But anyway, we're still shouldering it and still looking at it critically. Before we went on the break, we looked extensively at the outcome of all these monies and what it has done. And I was guess saying that little or nothing has been shown for it, especially as it concerns the different local government areas cut across the country. And more requests for Nigerians not to be docile, but to also pick up that move and make such requests come to be. But anyway, let's continue with it and look at all the issues that still remains as it concerns that. Now, I'll take us back to January of 2023. And we had the Deputy President of the Trade Union Congress, Mr. Tommy Etim. He said something that got a whole lot of governors pretty angry. And he called the governors enemies of the country. And the reason he called them enemies of the country is due to them not allow State House of Assembly to pass the local government autonomy bill that was needed to be done during the 2023 constitutional review amendment that ushered in also, we saw that, 2022 constitutional amendment that also brought in the new electoral act that we use for the elections in 2023. But let's leave that. Now I'm only being forced to ask, do you feel because of the issue of these funds, is another reason has been alleged that these governors have no willingness to allow the local government to have that autonomy?
Of course, that's number one reason. Then another reason that the reason why governors do not want the local government chairman to breathe is because they brought them.
Okay.
Usually they are their puppets.
Okay.
So you don't expect your protege to want to outsmart you.
Outsmart?
Yes.
In governance?
Yes, in governance. So they bring those people whom they can lampoon at any time, and of course there will be no reaction. So if I put you there, which mouth do you have to even come and look up to me to say you want to challenge what I do? But that's why I take my swipe at the State House of Assembly that are autonomous. Ordinarily, who should determine
by law?
By law. They make laws for the states as empowered by the Constitution. Now, the National Assembly came with a very fine legislation on talking about autonomy of the local government, the judiciary, and all of this. And majority of those puppet State House of Assembly, they were lampooned by their governors who put them there to chicken out. That's why that autonomy bill has not still been signed till today. Today, if that autonomy is there, the local government election will be conducted by, INEC and not their state SIEC or whatever. But that was not done. So that was deliberate, so that the governors can still continue to manipulate. There are governors, there's a state governor, I think Kwara State. For 7 years now, there's not been an election into the local government council. It's committees that they use in running it. So you that the governor appoint as
and is that not against the Constitution?
It's against the Constitution. And the people of that state are not even talking. These are the issues I'm raising. So when you allow these people to have a fee day, then of course they can do and undo, and it continues. It continues. as a young boy in the early 80s going to secondary school, what we know the local government to be, we were all looking forward to working in the local government because of the way there was life and there was hope, you know, exuding from the local government council. Ugele then, Ugele not local government, then it has not been broken into two, in North and South. When you come to local, it's a beehive of activity. You see very decent people being in their offices, doing one thing or the other. Now, it was the duty of local government to, you know, open up street roads at that time. Every dry season, you see local government grader going to the streets and make sure they open those streets continually. That was in the 80s. Then here come in 90s and in the 20s, and today, local government, they just go to office, share, take their salary, and that's the end. When you call the local government staff, you say, I don't have anything to, chairman is not on seat. Chairman is not, why is he not on seat? You know, for Delta here, they say they have a meeting in Asaba. The governor has invited them. He invited them to do what? Is that how the president invite governors to Abuja? Why would the local government chairman sit in his council and administer what is going on there? For instance, as we speak here, speaking now, there are communities in the Riverine, Okwama and Okoloba. They are in serious, crisis as we speak today. I do not know whether the chairman of my council has even made a statement to that. I do not know. 3 people have been burnt some 3 days ago for flimsy reasons. So you just come to say that people collect salary at the end of the month for no job done. Then in the next few days or months now, we will hear that, oh, people want to do election into local government to do what? That is why at some point, I am also in support of those who are asking that now that the local government has outlived its usefulness, let them be scrapped. So that we know that we don't have a local government. Let the state governor who determine what happened at the local government just manage the state from the state down to the communities. Maybe that's that, because why do you just, call the name a local government council and they are not doing, they without having activities? Because there's no activity. Go to all the local government council, apart from Uge Leon self, the one here, it's not like the way it used to be. Apart from Uwe, then maybe Warri South. You go to the other local government councils, weed has, taken over almost the landmass of those councils. You can take stock round and you see that. So is it just to collect salary? So I am saying this so that citizens should also know. It's not just to lament. We keep talking about the presidency. We hardly talk about our governors and local government. So the story should change. And governors are happy when citizens are tongue-lashing the presidency and the national government, that there's no focus on them. They are happy. They will promote such, media propensity because it's not affecting them. But I'm saying that the media and everyone should engage every public office holder going forward. Be it at the presidency, be it at the National Assembly, be it at the states, be it at the State House of Assembly, local government, and even councillors. Most of our councillors do not even know what a councillor does. They don't. I asked one of my friends in Fun recently, who is a councillor. I said, so you are doing your second tenure. So how many bills have you proposed? That is, second tenure means that you have been in the council going to 6 years. Yes. He told me, say he has sponsored 1 bill in 6 years. And that's why you are a councillor, you collect a humongous amount every month. So that means you've not even done any project in your constituency. So please, for crying out loud, people should know exactly what is expected of them.
Okay, now let's leave the local government and council and leave the local government issue, but still remain with the issue of corruption. Because I'm really keen on it, and not just corruption, but also accountability, because that's the basis of this discussion we're having. While speaking at the 10th annual Sir Bakal Bello Foundation Lecture and Award hosted by no other person but the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, the Vice President on Saturday said governance, or rather corruption in governance, is the reason for kidnapping banditry in the north, which is quite a departure from what we used to hear, that religion or extremism was the order of the day, and that's why what gave birth to the issue of banditry and terrorists. This is a high-ranking former governor of a state, and also now the vice president of the nation. He has now come to change the tune to say, well, corruption on the part of governors of these northern states are the very reason we're having kidnapping and banditry. I'm just really keen to get your reaction to this change of narrative as it concerns the issue of banditry and kidnapping. Corruption and bad governance on the part of the governors of the northern states.
Well said by Vice President Chetima. Well
and
said.
Who is a former governor?
A former governor. So he has also indicted himself.
Well, I know you said that.
By extension, not by his own statement.
Okay, well,
I'm using his statement.
Oh, okay. Well,
so because he was once a governor of those same northern states, a two-time governor at that,
yes.
and today is a vice president.
Yes.
But if I were in that venue where that question was asked, I was to ask him. So now that you know that corruption is the reason for the continuous banditry and kidnapping and all shades of crime, so what have you done, or what are you doing to stem the tide? Now I tell you this clearly. The problem of Nigeria is no longer hidden. It is known. Now that we know, when you diagnose an ailment,
most certainly treatment will come.
Treatment comes. So we know, we talk about corruption. What is now the antidote? What should be the antidote? The antidote should be that you that know that corruption is the reason for this continuous criminality and crime in society. Stem it by what you think that can stem it. Now, how do I mean? The people who are in high power crime and criminality, they have their link with those in authority. They do. They do. Now, these guys that go in high power criminality, they go with sophisticated weapons that are highly expensive, that a local boy cannot access.
Well, don't you feel it's proceeds from crime that is making them acquire?
No, how do they first of all get to the crime and to the extent of getting proceeds from crime? That's the point. Because there is a beginning point. They started somewhere. They now grew. They grew to where they are now. To the extent that now it is becoming very, lucrative industry for them. But the point I'm raising here is that those majority of those in authority knows these characters. But because they at one point or the other, they may have gotten one relationship or the other, they find it difficult addressing them. They find it difficult taming them for the fear of a reprisal. For instance, if I do something with you before in the hidden, and because for this disagreement between me and you want to open me up, and I'll tell you, if you do it, then I will also bust you. So for that fear, you see that they treat them with kid gloves. Now, jokingly, somebody was talking about, you had this money, a DPO is being probed by the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State for collecting 2 million. How did that deal go soured? Maybe somebody in the known was not serviced, and he blew the whistle. Now that DPO is having his day with his commissioner. So the corruption has gotten so enmeshed in the system.
That's now almost like the order of the day.
Almost like the order of the day. It's almost becoming a norm. Should we take that as a position? The answer is no. We can tame corruption. How can we tame corruption? That's where I'm going to.
Now, I'll need you to say that as a solution to all of these problems, because it's there. But I want us to still remain with the issue of governance, and as it concerns the northern states. This is a problem that many felt was just waiting to happen. When we talk about underdevelopment of the northern region, not just only that, we have about 20 million out-of-school children according to UNESCO 2022 report. And 85% of that are in the north. 85% of out-of-school children are in the north. And this was a clear knowledge of everyone, and was more like a time bomb waiting to happen that is now we are being faced with. But let's go back to the issue of governance, especially as it concerns the state, and look at the part of education. Do you feel the northern governors failed to take the stand of no other but Tafa Balewa and Amadu Bello to help educate their people, as they did in the construction of many universities. ABU Zaria is one of them. And that failure on the part of the new or the former mid-generation leaders of the North is the reason that we are all now having sleepless nights. Talking about bad governance.
That could be a reason, but that may not be the main reason or the only reason.
The reason I'm asking this now, as it stands, the 2023 report says now, we have nothing less than 18.75 million out of school children alone in the North. Yes. Is this not now another time bomb that will definitely come to explode in the next 5 years?
No, surely. But you can take some exceptions. For instance, I follow Baba Gana Zulum of Borno State. Is in spite of all of the insecurity that trended, in the Borno State for a long time, he's been able to stem the tide, and in the midst of that, he's also, doing a lot in the area of education. Yeah. So
he's a professor.
Yes. So it has to do with the individual state governors now, as it were. So it will be a swooping statement to generalize it. So we can isolate some few.
No, that's the reason. And,
yes.
and to support my question,
yes,
let's go to Kano State. Kano State is one of the most vital states in the North. But they're not being plagued with a whole lot of insecurity as other northern states. And many will give that credit to no other but Kwankwaso in his first 4 years of office, transcending down to the next governor, Shekarau, because they did so much in educating and even sponsoring their persons overseas to get their education.
Absolutely.
Gandoje has done the same. The new NMPP Yusuf is also doing that. Do you feel that's why we're having less insecurity in Kano and having it in other states?
That's the point I'm making, which is why I said we must isolate some of those governors that see the reason and the need to prioritize education, because an educated man will be better behaved compared to uneducated person. That is a fact. You can't explain that out. Okay. It's just there. Okay. So for those governors that are insensitive, and let us not even limit it to the North alone.
Yes.
Let's not limit it to the North alone. There's a whole lot of governors in the South too who are very passive. They are not taking the issue of the education very seriously. For instance, when I talk about it, I like to talk about my state. The other state, there is no time from 1999 to date that the budget for education in Delta State has gone up to 10% of the budget, annual budget. There's no time. We work in the area, we work in education, we work in water resources, agriculture, and of course health. For over 12 years now, we've been analyzing budget in this area. There is no time we've gotten up to 10%. And the UNESCO mandate,
15%.
15% minimum. It could be more. So we've not even gotten up to 10% each time. So it then means that we are not also prioritizing education here. So I'm trying
but not the reason that education is a scam.
No, the education can never be a scam.
Okay, don't mind me.
It can never be a scam.
I just wanted to bring that in.
So I'm also using the opportunity to also, crave the indulgence of governors across Nigeria that give priority to education. Because the people that are so educated will be hard to enslave, except that they are deliberately doing this to continue to enslave the people, to manipulate the people. Because when you are not knowledgeable about a thing, you'll be manipulated easily.
So you mean the former northern governors manipulated their people?
Of course now, to continue to lampoon them and use them, to their own benefit at the expense of those people that they're using. That's one of the reasons to not to educate your people. Which is why from the development sector, we try to create programs that will open people up, because there is so much potential in every human being as endowed by God. Now, you need to, hone those skills for maximization. But when those potentials are not even discovered in the first place,
then where?
Let alone honing them out for better utilization, then where are we? So, education is critical. Governors should create programs that will better educate people. Education can be formal or informal. There are those that will go to school. There are those that will go to school to a level, then begin to go for skill acquisitions. So all of these are programs that should be priority to our executives. Our legislators should make laws that make it compulsory, that set mandatory, that certain education must be attained. Until that is done, we are not growing. So it becomes express that even if you don't want to go to school, you don't want to continue, do your basic. Basic primary and secondary is key, so that you can know how to write your name, so that you can read and write. You can leave it at that. That helps you all your lifetime.
Okay, well, anyway, so as much as you've said that, we need to help ourselves to a break now, though. Then when we come back, we continue our discussion centered on the issue of accountability, especially as it concerns government spending and the issue of governance, and why that has been a major problem, and also breeding banditry and kidnapping. And many will say that that's the reason we are where we are at the moment. We need to go on the break.